All right, everyone ready here? In relationship to using a radius top on the guitars, a lot of builders are going to that now. And some of the advantages of the radius top are it adds stiffness. When you build that top in a dome, you can make it lighter because the dome adds strength and stiffness. So you can use a thinner top. Of course, that makes the guitar more resonant. Another advantage is being a dome, it resists the temptation to cave in due to lack of humidity. If you've seen Martin's, old Martin's, the braces, the top potato chips in due to lack of humidity. Center seam comes apart, they split, they crack. All right, so when you build it into this dome, it's resistant to that effect. I'm not saying you don't have to humidify your acoustic guitars. Everyone knows you got to keep these at 50%. But not everyone is aware of that, and not everyone is as on top of it as they should be.
Are you radiusing the entire top, Mike?
Yes, sir. And the sides.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're going to use the entire rim.
Yes, the rim, the entire rim gets radiused to match the bracing of the top, and I'll get into that. It also, because it's a dome, it resists the deflection of the bridge to roll forward, or that bellying up behind, or the caving in front of the bridge. You see that all the time on acoustic guitars where the bridge rolls up. Because it's in a dome, you place the high point of the arch right in front of the bridge. Of course, that's exaggerated. Here's your high point. If your bridge is here, it's uphill here. It really resists that temptation to dive in here. It also resists the propensity for a neck set in the future. This is a nightmare if you're a guitar builder. You sold the guitar, but that guitar is yours forever. If he comes back and it needs a neck set, that's probably on you. You know what I mean? It's an expensive proposition, and it's a pain in the balls to do. Excuse me. So you want to build these instruments so that you don't have this problem. All right? So this part here is what we're going to get into, the relationship of the angle of the neck to the height of the bridge. The objectives we're trying to meet here is have a smooth and straight transition where the neck joins the body in a perfectly smooth line. Let me do this so that it's a little... The neck joins the body. We don't have a fall away. You know, a couple thousandths of inch of fall away is good. If you've got a 1/16 of an inch of fall away, that's unacceptable. If I buy a guitar from you, it's a cutaway, but then as I get to the cutaway, the tongue falls away. What's the point of having a cutaway? Because the action's gotten all high there. What's the point? This has to be a straight, perfect transition. If it rises, which is a misnomer by the way, this doesn't rise, the neck pitches this way. You're going to have that kind of look as you sight down the neck and you see this rise up. Obviously, I can't get my action low here at the 12th fret if that tongue is rising up. Smooth, straight transition that remains strong over time. Another objective we're after is how high is the bridge going to be? 5/16 of an inch to 3/8 of an inch I found is ideal. If you're less than 5/16, quarter inch, I mean, how many guys have run into this? You set it, and yeah, you're shaving off the bridge, trying to get the action down. If you're at a quarter inch or less, you're going to lose volume. You're losing drive on the top because the strings will not deflect this top as they should because you lost leverage. If your bridge is above 3/8, you're starting to get into that half-inch range. Now you've got so much mass here, the strings are not accentuating the top as it should be. So we're after that happy medium where the strings deflect the top and drive it, but you don't have so much mass that it's damping it too. You want to build this light as you can, and still withstand 185 pounds of tension. That's the whole trick. It's the art of building guitars. Build this thing as light as you can and still withstand 185 pounds of tension, and have it 5 years down the road still withstanding it. You know, if I sell it to you, the action's great out the door, but you come back to me in 5 years and the action's, you know, a quarter of an inch off the neck, not really acceptable. You also want the right amount of saddle height here. So if you're at 5/16 to 3/8, you shoot for 11, 30 seconds right down the middle and still have 90 thousandths of saddle. That's also driving the top. If you have 90 thousandths to 1/8 of an inch of saddle, that's considered ideal. You start to get less than that, you lose this angle, the break angle exactly. You lose that angle. If it's too low, it's basically flat over there. The strings buzz because you don't have that break angle. You also lose volume and tone because it's not driving this top the way it should. So you're shooting for 11, 30 seconds of bridge and 90 thousandths or 3/30 seconds of saddle. That's a perfect combination of height. All right? So making all this add up is the trick. There will be no singing along. All right. Okay? No yodeling.
No yodeling?
Oh my God, okay.
I brought ring rings.
If you feel the need, go ahead. Jump in. All right, now also, if you end up where this is too high, I mean, we see this on guitars all the time, you know, you've got a quarter of an inch of saddle sticking out there because this angle's too low, or I mean, you've overset the neck where this is like this. Now I've got to raise things up here. Over time, that bridge will break. It's too much forward pressure, the saddle rolls over. Especially guys building the vintage style instruments where the saddle goes completely through the bridge, the old style Martins. There's no strength on the sides, and you've got a saddle that's a mile high. It's going to break every time. So the question is, what's going to yield this type of geometry and how to achieve it? What I do is I radius the sides. Of course, we all radius the back. 16 foot is standard for Martin, I think, 15. Guys are doing different things. But I also radius the top. Now, when I say that, I take what I mean by that is my sides are in a mold, and I use a radius dish. This is not flat. Martin did this for years. They would glue 28-foot braces on the top and then glue that assembly to a flat rim. All right? It's disaster in the long run. All right? If potato chips in here, when the guy isn't humidifying it, if he's not right on top of it, Martins are really susceptible to needing neck sets down the road. They make a great guitar, but I can't afford to have these guitars come back to me. And I can't afford to do costly repair work on the guitars I'm building. So it's a lot better to make sure this thing's going to hold up. It's not a matter of overbuilding the guitar to overcome this problem. It's just a matter of the simple physics and geometry. You can actually build the guitar lighter because it adds so much strength at the top. So they used to build it, in the old days, this was at 90 degrees. It yielded no saddle height. Now they're at 1.5 degrees, but there's still problems down the road with it because there's no real structure back here that's long-term strong. .28-foot radius is what Martin uses on their braces. If you radius this at 28 inches, it's going to be too tall here. You're going to be over. If I lay a straight edge right along this line, I want a gap of 90 thousandths right there, right at the bridge position. That's ideal. If you make yourself a straight edge and you glue a 90 thousandths block right here on the end, you set that block in this position. That's what should happen. You've got about 3 inches right here where the tongue meets the body. This 90 thousandths should line up right with that. If I lay a straight edge right there and measure down here, 90 thousandths is perfect. 1/8 of an inch is a little high. 1/16 of an inch you can get away with. But that works out ideally every time. Every time. If I'm resetting a neck on a Martin, that's what I do. Set this to 90 thousandths. It's inevitably going to end up with some fall here because the body geometry isn't right. The body geometry is flat. So now my tongue looks like this. I'm exaggerating. But from here to here is what you're changing, this angle, where you remove it from the heel. Frank Finocchio and I have experimented with this round and round. 28's too much, 30's not, 30's too much. 32 inches we're getting away with. 32 foot radius. My next radius form will be 34 feet. So I make my braces a 34-foot radius. I radius the sides of the top in a 34-foot radius, being careful to keep the high point just in front of the bridge. And it yields perfect results every time. The next step of this is to fret the guitar after the neck is on. I fought this for years because it just seemed like it was a matter of being easy. Now, if I'm Martin Guitar and I'm making 70,000 guitars a year, there's an advantage to doing this, calling the frets in before it goes on. But I'm making 4 or 5 guitars a year. I can afford to spend an extra hour to make this perfect. And that's what we want. We don't want to build, well, I don't want to build Martins. I know at this point I can build a better guitar. I can build a guitar that's going to hold up over time. I think they sound better. I know they play better. I've had a lot of positive reinforcements from people who play. I'm not saying Martin makes a bad guitar. I'm just saying I don't have to make 70,000 guitars a year. And my goal is to improve it, to make it better. So if you're with that mindset, How can I make this better? Martin makes 70,000. Why do you want to make 70,005? Doesn't make any sense. You need to put your own signature on these. Make a better guitar. And this is kind of the state of the art at this point. To build this radius, I use a 34-foot radius.
No. Question.
Yes, sir.
34 foot is flatter than a 28 foot.
Yes.
So it's less arch than a 28.
Yes.
And to get your 90 thousandths, do you change that 1.5 degree angle on the next set initially?
No.
Or you just maintain that?
This radius gives you the angle. Gives you this angle. It's between 1.5 and 1 3/4 degrees. If you use a 28-foot radius on the sides, you're going to end up with more than 90 thousandths here. You're going to have to put a thicker bridge on.
Why would you end up with more?
Because the radius is more. There's my neck now. As this radius increases, or the 34, this becomes flatter. Okay? The less the radius, the more acute the angle. Okay? So at 28, you're over 1/8 of an inch here. When you lay that straight edge right on this body joint, right there, you lay it on the 3 inches or so what your tongue is to the sound hole. From the top of the guitar to the sound hole, you lay that straight edge on there. You come down here to the bridge location, you want 90 thousandths of an inch. If it's a little less, it's okay. A 16th of an inch minimum.
How does your radius relate to the angle of the presented to the neck by the block then? If you would draw the block in
here,
these pictures,
right? Okay.
And then your more abrupt radius, and then your less, 34 radius.
Everything's radiused at 34 inches. My braces on the inside of the top, my sides. Sometimes I'll leave this neck block just a little proud so that when I sand it away, I have a smooth transition here.